You're done writing down your view of what outcomes-based assessment is. I'm not sure if you use my method of dissecting it. So now I'm going to begin by explaining in my method, which is dissecting each element of the term outcomes-based assessment. Okay, let's begin with outcomes. What is outcomes? Outcomes mean the end product of learning, what the learner should know at the end of the learning process. Okay, important, it must be within that context. If you are learning how to assess document and you're using outcomes-based method, that means you have to be able to do it within that context. All right, let me use another example. If you're teaching a learner how to type, okay, it's not good enough that they know how to type at the end of the learning process, but they know how to do it within the context. That means if in the sector of typing, individuals who are typists who are meant to type 60 words a minute, contextually would then mean end product of typing meeting the correct context, meaning they can type 60 minutes. So it's important that the context and the outcome, they match, meaning that whatever quality is required of the outcome is achieved. So at the end of the learning program, the learner needs to be able to create an authentic, contextually correct end product. Okay. So can also say another thing that there must be an end product. Lastly, it is a process. So as much as we say the learner must be able to type, which is the end product, we also want to look at what is the process that they took. So you want to make sure that if we're using the typing example, is that they know how to switch on their computer, they know how to save document, they know how to eject the USB. Because all of those components make out the output. If your learner doesn't know how to save the documents, them having proficiently typed 60 words a minute and spent 3 hours typing, but they didn't save the document, then when they don't follow the process, it then impacts on the output as well. So an outcome must be contextually demonstrated, the end product must be created, the processes that take to get to the output must be considered as well. Okay, then let's look at what is assessment. It's important that you understand that assessment is an ongoing process. A lot of people view assessment as a final exam. It's ongoing. Okay, it's the ongoing process of gathering evidence. Okay, you analyze the evidence, you reflect the evidence to make an informed and consistent judgment to improve student learning. When we go deeper into what assessment is, we're going to speak about terms where we say it's formative assessment. For instance, all of you, before you got your job, you went to an interview. What were they trying to do? Why were they assessing you prior to you getting the job? They didn't just let you in, they assessed you. All right. So it's an ongoing process. And even when you're now at work, continually there are performance appraisal trying to determine how you are doing at work. All right. So it's an ongoing process. You analyze the evidence. You look at what was the expectation. What have you achieved? You reflect on the evidence. What was the context this was happening at? Look at the evidence. Most importantly, you must look at the evidence. So we don't use judgments that are made on emotions. Do you like her? It's irrelevant. Whether you like the person, you don't like the person. What you need to look at is the evidence. You use that evidence and you make an informed decision. And consistent judgment. So the issue of somebody performs a particular task in a certain manner, and Voyo types 45 words a minute and you say it's excellent. Thabang types 45 words a minute and you say, Thabang, you haven't reached the standard. The standard is 60 words a minute. That is inconsistency. So for you to have accessed effectively, there must be consistency. What is good for Jane is good for John, right? And lastly, a lot of people view assessment as though it is a punitive measure. It's a punishment. Assessment is a way to improve the learner's performance. You need to be able to say to the learner, what are their weaknesses, what are their strengths, and constructively so, because the goal is to move the learner from where they are to the next point of learning. There's a term called the zone of approximate development. As an assessor, as a facilitator, you play a role for moving the learner from what they know to a new area of knowledge. And between the gap between what they know and what they need to learn, there will always be weaknesses. Your goal is to then move that learner from what they know to what they do not know. So that is your goal, is to do improvement. So an assessment is not a punitive measure. It is a measure to build, to empower, and to uplift employees. Learning in general is a mechanism. Learning itself is a process, and that process means we fail, means we improve. So it's not about getting to the end. It's about the process of being able to do the work, making mistake, revert back, and make it better, just like we do when you write a professional document and you edit it. You do your first draft, you do your second draft until it becomes excellent. So the goal is to improve